All right, you guys, welcome to our first day of online learning. I know this is going to be a little bit difficult to get used to, but hopefully we'll be able to still do a little bit of learning while not adding too much onto your plate. So for today, we're just going to have a really quick bit of work to do. Really, there's three parts to it. You're going to be watching a short video, which is going to be linked on Google Classroom about the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. And there'll be a short question to answer along with that. So you'll watch that, answer the question. Then you're going to listen. Well, at this point, you'll be listening to this PowerPoint here, just finishing up the last few slides that we have here that we left off on last week before we ended school. And then there'll be another short assignment at the end of the lecture here. Okay. There's a slightly bigger project I'd like to work on, but I think I'll save that for next week just because this is the first week, and I do know that you guys have been kind of swamped with work, even though you really weren't supposed to be getting so much work. So I'll try to keep it relatively short, okay? So let me just go ahead and run through the slides here. You are encouraged and definitely more than welcome to take notes as I do this, just kind of add them to your notebook. Hopefully, we do resume school at some point this year. So, if that does happen, when that does happen, these notes will be useful. Okay. So we left off on the New Deal. Okay. In the midterm elections of 1934, we have FDR gaining some more power as the Democrats gained more seats in both the Senate and the House. And then in the presidential election of 1936, we have FDR again kind of solidifying the support that he had previously. Remember, he's going to be the only ever president to serve more than 2 terms. He gets elected to a whopping 4 terms. And while a lot of that has to do with World War II and the fact that people wanted to keep the same trajectory during the war, there's also definitely an element of people liked what he was doing. Okay. So in 1936, we have FDR running for, at this point, his second term. His platform is to continue the New Deal. He is aware of the the criticisms that he's been facing with regards to the New Deal. So he talks about cutting spending, balancing the budget, cutting back on that deficit spending, which people had been blaming him for. But generally speaking, the New Deal was pretty popular. Okay. Now, the Republicans are going to run against him with Alf Landon, which is already not a great place to start since it's a pretty bad presidential name, Alf. But besides that, they do have a chance, some might say, given the fact that the Depression is still strong. By 1936, the Depression has not really lifted. People are still dealing with the effects of the Dust Bowl in the Midwest. There's still a lot of unemployment. Jobs are still scarce. And so they run Alf Landon, and they're kind of arguing that the New Deal was a failure, that the New Deal was undemocratic, that a lot of it was done without the people's approval, and the president was just kind of doing stuff. And that they're going to balance the budget. So again, kind of similar ideas here, except one's in favor, one's against the New Deal. But the results are pretty obviously in favor of President Roosevelt. As we can see here in this campaign map, Roosevelt destroys Landon in 36 and gets his second term. He runs a clean campaign. He knows he doesn't have to, slander Landon. He knows that people support what he's done so far for the most part. He's also officially endorsed by the NAACP. I, Unfortunately, we won't get to do this since we're not going to be in class together for these next few weeks. But if you would have watched the documentary I would have shown you, it will kind of talk about how there were some criticisms of the New Deal for being not necessarily great for all minority groups. And while that's definitely true in many cases, the NAACP did recognize that some of his programs were actually better than what anyone else had done for African Americans. So he wins in a landslide, and then in the House and the Senate, the Democrats gain even more of an advantage, 331 to 89 in the House, 76 to 16 in the Senate. And together this gives FDR essentially carte blanche, or a blank check, to pass even more New Deal programs, which he does throughout the rest of the 1930s. So, kind of nearing the end here already. It's a rather short and sweet lecture. Now, you guys are all looking forward to a very long lecture, since you guys all enjoy those, but I will unfortunately disappoint you in that regard. The next thing you're going to do, if you haven't read the directions on Classroom yet, is you're going to be looking at some New Deal programs and kind of classifying them into either relief, recovery, or reform. Okay, so just as a reminder, relief, recovery, and reform. Relief, again, if we're using the analogy of someone being sick, relief is something to kind of alleviate your symptoms. So when we look at something for the relief of the economy during the Great Depression, it would have been something to, just give people enough money to make it to the next day, right? It could have been the bank holiday, right? That could be both potentially relief and recovery, but just kind of an immediate action to help stop things getting worse. Recovery is to sort of kind of prime the pump or get things going again. So rebuilding the consumer economy, getting people to buy stuff again, getting people jobs so they have money to buy stuff, just kind of getting the wheels turning again. And then reform is kind of a permanent change that avoids another depression, or at least that's the goal. Okay. So on the attached slide on Classroom, or attached document, you'll see that there's many of these different New Deal programs. Okay, and when you look at them, basically it'll ask you to first match them or pair them with the description. Okay, so basically what I'll have you do is just on a Google Doc, you'll just write, okay, CCC was this. You can just copy and paste or whatever. Basically just combine them. But then what I really want you to do really is to just very quickly write whether it's relief, recovery, or reform, and it can be both two things. And then just write like a sentence or two for each one that's on that sheet. Not all of the ones that are on here. I know there's a ton on here, so you're not going to do all of those. But for some of the ones that are on the sheet, you're going to just say whether it's relief, recovery, reform, and give a 1 or 2 sentence explanation as to why that is. Okay, and then the last thing you're going to do for today is this summary activity here. Again, we're going to modify this a little bit. So essentially, you're just going to be doing a short write-up by yourself. Again, no partners since we're not in school together. But you're going to do a short write-up for a new New Deal program. For something that FDR has not yet thought of. So think about what problems people are facing during the Depression. Think back to, our look at the Dust Bowl, our reading of the Grapes of Wrath, our reading of those different stories, Clifford Burke and Kitty McCulloch. And just think about what did people need. So try to think of a different program, one that maybe Roosevelt didn't implement, and then kind of create your own plan for it. Okay, obviously it shouldn't be anything that is that is a copy of what he did. Make it something new, something that's a little bit different. Okay, so all you're going to do is just write a 3 to 5 sentence proposal. What would the plan do? So how would it work? Okay, so where would the money come from? Who would get the money if there's money involved? Would it be like giving out supplies? Like what would it do? Why is it necessary? And then for extra credit here, where it says a poster advertising the plan, just if you want to, if you have time, you can either draw it and take a picture and attach it, or you could just do some sort of online visual thing. But basically, you're just going to do something to advertise the plan. Okay, so that's the whole thing essentially. So you're going to watch the video, answer the question. You're going to listen to this lecture that I just did here, take notes on it. You guys can obviously go back and watch it again if you need to. And then the last thing is on a separate document, which will also be posted on Schoolook. You're going to do the matching of the different policies, and then you're going to define whether they're relief, recovery, or reform. And the final thing is to make your own New Deal program. Okay, so that's it for this first day. I believe I've gone over everything here. Again, if you need to re-watch or re-listen to this, make sure to do that. I'll make sure to post everything else on Classroom as well, and please get it done by tonight at 11:59. That's when it's all due, okay? But you must do the CCC video by the end of this class period. That's how I'm going to do roll. So basically, you watch the video, you respond to the question on the Google form. That will count as your attendance, and then I'll input that attendance. So you have until the end of the hour and a half block here to do that. All right. All right, you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I will hopefully see you soon. But at the very least, I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye, guys.